Hey, what's up? I'm Mr. Honish and welcome to my flipped classroom. Today we'll look at history, culture, and modern life in Japan and Korea. We will divide this video into two segments, one just for Japan and one for Korea. So, let's get right to it. The Japanese people are a homogeneous culture, which means nearly everyone shares a similar race, ethnicity, religion, common history, and language. The language is one of the most complex in the world, with about 2,000 characters in it, which is like 77 times as many as the English alphabet. Religion in Japan is not very clear-cut either. The largest religious groups are Buddhism and Shintoism. Buddhism is sort of a combination of traditions, beliefs, and practices that one follows to become enlightened and find a perfect balance in life. Shintoism is the belief in animal spirits, multiple gods for multiple categories, and is heavy on rituals connecting to the past. 84% of Japan's population is Buddhist, Shinto, or some combination of the two. Early Japan saw a cycle of emperors leading the country based in present-day Kyoto. The leadership skills of the emperors varied greatly, and sometimes Japan was relatively powerful, while other times their emperor would be more concerned with the finer things in life, like art or literature, and would pay much less attention to silly things like running the country. Maybe that's why military leaders called shoguns took over by the 12th century. Shoguns were sort of like regional generals that had really loyal armies of samurai. Shoguns rotated as leader of Japan into the 1800s. By the mid-1800s, things started changing quickly in Japan. They opened up trade to foreign countries like the U.S. for the first time in forever. Thanks, Matthew Perry. Nope. Oh, there you go. And by 1868, the people were kind of sick of shoguns running the show with their guns, because they had armies and there were generals, and shoguns run the show with guns.
Mr. Honish's cheesy jokes. Mr. Honish's cheesy jokes.
Cheesy jokes. So eventually samurais overthrew the shogun and reinstalled an emperor, but the wars didn't stop, and Japan fought with Russia twice at the turn of the century, invaded China in 1937, and that turned into this little thing called World War II, where they controlled most of East Asia and the Pacific, until the U.S. woke up and kicked their butts. America! Today, Japan is a free country with a pretty successful economy, partly because after being completely devastated by World War II and a couple atomic bombs, the U.S. actually decided to stick around and help them rebuild their infrastructure. Ever heard of companies like Toyota, Honda, Mitsubishi, Mazda, or Nissan? How about Canon, Sony, Sharp, or Nintendo? That should tell you all you need to know about how Japan's economy has become a successful global power, because all of those companies are household names, and they all came out of Japan. There is still an emperor in place, but the government style now is technically a constitutional monarchy, and there is a prime minister and elected legislature called the Diet that makes all the real laws. To get an idea of what life in a Japanese city like Tokyo is like today, check out page 678 and 679 in your geography textbook. Anyway, that's the end of part 1, so stick around for part 2 about Korea. Despite being split into two very different countries right now, the people of Korea share similar culture regardless of being in the north or south. Many ancient Korean traditions are alive and well today. The Korean language is way simpler than the Japanese, and it has a written alphabet. Historically, Korea was independent and run by its own system of rotating dynasties, kind of similar to that of China, for hundreds of years until about the turn of the 20th century. It was at that point that Japan took it over and ran it as a territory as a result of a war with Russia. One thing is absolutely certain about this period of Japanese rule in Korea. The people of Korea hated it. Luckily, in the aftermath of World War II, Japan was forced to give up Korea, and they became independent again. The problem was communist countries such as the Soviet Union and democratic countries such as the United States now began fighting for influence. This led to the single most important event in Korean history, the Korean War, or the 625 according to South Korea, or the Fatherland Liberation War according to North Korea. The result of this war was an official split into a communist North Korea and a republic South Korea. The border between the two is now a wasteland of leftover landmines with barbed wire fences called the DMZ, or Demilitarized Zone. Economic development on each side of the DMZ has been very different, with North Korea keeping strict central control over its people and spending most of its money on the military while neglecting things like providing food and housing to its people. Meanwhile, South Korea has blossomed into a modern, industrial, developed country, which has given the world businesses such as Samsung, LG, Hyundai, Kia, and Fila. If there was ever a case study for the differences over time between communism and the free market, Korea would be it. It is possible to imagine a reunified Korea someday, but for now, many obstacles stand in the way. Most notably the fact that North Korea has continually threatened to wipe South Korea off the map with nuclear weapons. So keep an eye on it, but that's all I have for now. So go study, and until next time, bye-bye.